I never thought love could turn into betrayal so easily. For years I believed we had the perfect marriage. I trusted her. I loved her. I built my entire world around her. But all it took was one devastating, gut-wrenching message to tear everything apart. It happened on an ordinary evening. I came home from work, exhausted but eager to see my wife, Alina. The scent of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, and soft music played in the background. Everything seemed normal. But normal is a lie. A carefully crafted illusion designed to keep you blind until it shatters right in front of you. As I walked into our bedroom, I noticed her phone on the bedside table, screen glowing with a new message. I wasn't a tech to snoop, but something about the way she had been acting lately distant, secretive, always guarding her phone like it held the world's biggest secret made my heart race. The name on the screen made my blood run cold. I can't wait to see you again. Last night was incredible. My hands clenched into fists as a sickening wave of nausea hit me. My wife. The woman I had vowed to spend my life with. The woman who had once looked at me like I was her entire universe. She was sleeping with someone else. I wanted to believe it was a mistake. A wrong number. A misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew better. I could feel it in the way she had started pulling away. In the late-night meetings. The sudden interest in going to the gym. The way she would turn her phone screen away when I entered the room. I had been blind. And now, I have proof. I heard her footsteps approaching. My heart pounded in my chest as I forced myself to stay calm. I placed the phone back on the table and turned around just as she entered the room, her face lighting up with the same innocent smile she had given me for years. But now, I saw it for what it was, a mask. "Hey, you're home early," she said, pressing a quick kiss to my cheek. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Yeah, work wasn't too busy today. She walked over to her phone, picked it up, and the second she saw the message, I saw the flicker of panic in her eyes. That was all the confirmation I needed. But instead of confronting her, I smiled. Because at that moment, I knew one thing for certain: this wasn't going to end the way she expected. She thought she could replace me. She had no idea that my revenge was already in motion. My name is Adiel, and for the last 7 years, I believed I was living my dream life. I met Alina during my university years, and from the moment I saw her, I knew she was different. She wasn't just beautiful, she had this energy, this light that made people gravitate towards her. I wasn't the most confident guy back then, but with her, everything felt effortless. She made me believe in love, forever. We got married young, right after graduation. I had just started my career in finance, and she was working as a graphic designer. We weren't rich, but we were happy. Every night we'd stay up talking about our future, the house we'd buy, the vacations we'd take, the kids we'd have someday. It felt like we were building something real, something unbreakable. Alina was my best friend. We did everything together: movie nights, late-night drives, surprise dates. I would bring her coffee in bed every morning, and she would always leave little notes in my lunchbox, reminding me how much she loved me. It wasn't just love, it was a partnership. Or so I thought. Looking back, I wonder when things started changing. Maybe it was too gradual for me to notice, or maybe I was just too blinded by love to see it. At first, it was little things. She started staying late at work more often. When I asked, she'd say, "Deadlines, you know how it is." I did. So I didn't question it. Then came the gym phase. Alina was never one for fitness, but suddenly, she was obsessed with working out. She started dressing differently, tighter clothes, more makeup, always looking picture perfect, even when she was just stepping out for groceries. I admired her confidence, told her she looked beautiful. She would just smile, but it never quite reached her eyes. Then there were the changes in our conversations. Before, we talked about everything: our dreams, our future, silly little things that didn't matter to the world but meant everything to us. But now, her conversations had become shorter, colder. She was distracted, always looking at her phone, always somewhere else, even when she was sitting right beside me. I ignored the signs. Because I loved her. Because when you love someone that deeply, you don't just expect betrayal. You don't even consider it. I wish I had. Love makes you blind. I had heard people say that, but I never thought I'd experience it firsthand. That evening, after seeing the message on Alina's phone, my world tilted. My heart pounded against my ribs, my breath shallow as a storm of emotions raged inside. The anger, confusion, disbelief. I wanted to confront her right then, demand answers, but a voice in my head stopped me. No. Not yet. I needed more than just a message. I needed undeniable proof. So, I waited. Over the next few days, I started paying closer attention. I noticed things I had ignored before. How she would always keep her phone on silent, flipping it face down whenever she set it on the table. How she would get dressed up even when she was just going to meet a friend. How her laughter, once so effortless and full of love, felt forced whenever she was with me. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was a Friday night. Alina had told me she was going out with her best friend, Sarah. Normally, I wouldn't have thought twice about it. But after what I had seen, I knew I couldn't just sit at home, pretending everything was fine. So, I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed her. I waited until she left, then grabbed my car keys and tailed her at a safe distance. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. My heart was hammering, every nerve in my body on edge. She didn't go to Sarah's house. Instead, she drove across the city to a high-end restaurant, the kind we used to go to for anniversaries. The kind that had been our special place. I parked a few cars away and watched as she stepped out of the car, her face glowing under the golden streetlights. She was wearing a dress I had never seen before. Her hair was curled, her makeup flawless. She looked breathtaking, but she wasn't dressed up for me. A few minutes later, a man stepped out of a black SUV and walked toward her. Tall. Confidence. Dressed in an expensive suit. And when she smiled at him, the same smile that used to be mine, I felt something inside me shatter. I watched as he placed a hand on the small of her back, guiding her into the restaurant. It was intimate, familiar. Not the kind of touch shared between colleagues or old friends. No, this was different. This was personal. My blood turned to ice. My jaw clenched so tight it hurt. I wanted to storm inside, flip the table, and demand answers. I wanted to scream at her, at him. I wanted to break something, anything, but I didn't. Because in that moment I realized something terrifying. She had already moved on. She had already replaced me. She just hadn't told me yet. But that was fine. Because now, it was my turn to play the game. I sat in my car outside the restaurant, gripping the steering wheel so hard my fingers ached. My mind was a battlefield of emotions, rage, heartbreak, confusion. I watched through the window as Alina laughed, her eyes glowing in a way I hadn't seen in months. She used to look at me like that. A voice in my head whispered, "Maybe it's not what you think. Maybe he's just a friend." But I wasn't stupid. No one dresses like that for a friend. No one leans in so close, touches someone so softly, unless there's something deeper. My thoughts raced. Should I walk in and confront them? Should I wait until she comes home and pretend I don't know anything? Should I scream? Should I cry? Instead, I just sat there, watching. I watched as she smiled at him in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. I watched as he leaned in, whispering something in her ear that made her giggle. And then, I watched as she reached across the table and placed her hand over his. That was it. That single touch. I felt something inside me snap. I wanted to burst through the doors, flip the table, and ask her how she could do this to me. How she could lie to my face every single day and come home pretending to be my loving wife. But no, that would be too easy. Instead, I let the anger settle inside me, let it carve a hollow space in my chest. If she thought she could deceive me, she had no idea what I was capable of. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw a message from her. Alina. Hey love, dinner's running late. Don't wait for me. I stared at the screen, bile rising in my throat. Love? She was calling me love while sitting across from another man, holding his hand like I never existed? I exhaled sharply and typed back. Me. Take your time. She didn't need to know that I was watching. Not yet. I let my head fall back against the seat, staring at the ceiling of my car. My mind was drowning in thoughts. Had I been a fool this entire time? Was I so blinded by love that I'd missed all the signs? I thought about every late-night excuse, every distant glance, every moment she chose her phone over a conversation with me. I thought about the nights I stayed awake, wondering why she felt so far away even when she was right beside me. I wanted to believe this was some mistake, but deep down, I knew the truth. She had already made her choice. Now, it was time for me to make mine. I barely slept that night. My mind replayed the scene at the restaurant over and over again. Alina's smile, the way she touched his hand, the way he looked at her like she was his and not mine. By morning, I had made up my mind. I needed to know who he was. So I did something I never imagined myself doing. I hired a private investigator. I found his number online, a man named Kamran who specialized in domestic cases. He didn't ask too many questions, just took the details and promised to get back to me soon. The waiting was unbearable. Every time Alina smiled at me, every time she kissed me goodbye before leaving for work, I wanted to scream. But I played my part. I acted like the loving, clueless husband. And then, 2 days later, Kamran called me. "I have something you'll want to see," he said, his voice neutral. I met him at a quiet cafe, my heart pounding the entire drive there. He handed me an envelope, thick with photos and documents. I opened it with shaky fingers. The first picture sent a shockwave through my body. Alina. With him. In different places, restaurants, parking lots, even outside what looked like a high-end apartment complex. In every picture, she looked happy, free in a way she never did with me anymore. I flipped through the rest, my stomach twisting into knots, until I reached the last one. And then, my world collapsed. The man wasn't just some stranger. I knew him. Ryan. My childhood friend. My best man at our wedding. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Rayan had been in my life for years. He was the kind of friend I never doubted, never questioned. We had grown up together, built our careers side by side. He had been like a brother to me, and all this time he had been sneaking around with my wife. I couldn't breathe. Kamran was still talking, but I wasn't hearing a word. Memories came crashing down. Rayan coming over for dinner, laughing with Alina, the way he always seemed a little too comfortable in my house. Has it been happening right under my nose? How long had they been laughing behind my back? Then, another thought struck me. Was Alina ever really mine? Or had she just settled for me while waiting for him? I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a knife to the back from two people I trusted the most. And suddenly, the anger that had been simmering inside me ignited into something else. Something darker. Something that told me this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I spent the next few days in a haze, the betrayal sitting heavy in my chest like a stone. Every smile Alina gave me felt like poison. Every word from her mouth like a dagger. I wasn't going to let this slide. I wasn't going to let them win. So, I planned. I waited until Friday, our anniversary. The irony wasn't lost on me. 7 years of marriage, and here I was, planning the biggest betrayal reveal of my life. That morning, I kissed Alina on the forehead before she left for work. "Dinner tonight? Just us?" I asked softly. She smiled, acting like the perfect wife. Of course, love. Love. That word didn't mean anything anymore. I had already put everything in place. I had told Rian I needed his help setting up a special surprise for Alina that evening. He hesitated at first, but he agreed. Snake. He probably thought he was getting away with it, still playing the role of my best friend. He had no idea what was coming. That evening, I set the table perfectly, candles, wine, everything just right. Alina arrived home at 8 p.m., wearing the same dress she had worn to meet him that night. The sight of her in it made my blood boil, but I stayed calm. "Wow," she said, surprised. "This looks amazing." I pulled out a chair for her. "Anything for you?" She smiled, completely unaware of the storm about to hit. 5 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Alina frowned. Are we expecting someone? I shrugged. Just a little surprise. She got up to answer the door, and when she saw Ryan standing there, she froze. She turned to look at me, confusion in her eyes. What's going on? Rayan stepped inside, still playing dumb. Bro, what's this all about? I smiled. Sit, both of you. Alina hesitated. ADL, sit, I repeated, my voice colder this time. They did. I poured us all a glass of wine, my hand steady. Then, I pulled out the envelope the one Kamran had given me. I placed it on the table between us. Open it. Neither of them moved. So, I did it for them. I slid the photos across the table, one by one, watching their faces closely. Alina's face went pale. Rayan swallowed hard. Silence. I leaned back in my chair, taking a slow sip of my wine. Nothing to say? Alina opened her mouth, but no words came out. Rayan, ever the coward, tried to play dumb. Bro, it's not what it looks like. I laughed. Actually, I laughed. Not what it looks like? I repeated. So, you weren't sneaking around with my wife behind my back? You weren't meeting her in restaurants, in apartments? Rayan looked at Alina, desperate for help. She didn't say a word. I slammed my fist against the table, making them both jump. How long? Alina finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. 6 months. I exhaled slowly, shaking my head. 6 months. While I was loving you, trusting you. She started crying. Adil, I don't. I held up a hand. I don't want to hear your excuses. I just want to know, was it ever real? Or was I just a backup plan? She hesitated. And at that moment, I got my answer. Rayan stood up. Look, man, I know this is messed up, but we never meant to hurt you. I stood too, getting right in his face. You were my best friend, my brother. My voice shook with rage. And this is what you do? He looked away. Coward. I turned back to Alina. I gave you everything, and you threw it away for him? More silence. More guilt. I grabbed my phone and, with one tap, played the recording I had prepared the audio of all the conversations they thought I never heard. The whispers. The laughter. The betrayal. Alina gasped. You recorded every single word. I looked at her, then at Rayan. You both deserve each other. And with that, I walked away. Not broken. Not defeated. Just done.